2024 means disappointment with the Phils. And they had, this was one of those ones they really had a great shot this year. I mean, they had the home field advantage. They had the high payroll. They do have a lot of talent. I know they didn't play as such recently, but they do have a lot of talent. They did have a lot of health. A couple guys a little bit banged up entering the playoffs, but for the most part healthy. You had your pitchers, for the most part, healthy. Again, Ranger, not quite the same down the stretch, but for the most part, you had a healthy baseball team. And they just stunk up the joint. Look, I'll just say this out of the gate, and obviously we want to hear from you, 215-592-9494. In moments like this, there's a lot of ways to attack it. I typically start with the emotional side. It's how I'm wired. This one really hurts. It lays heavy on the heart, and it will for a long time, and it may for the rest of our lives. I mean, ultimately, I think how heavy this thing lays on our heart rest of our lives or not will ultimately be determined whether this group wins the World Series. They obviously still have a few more years to try to do that while you got guys like Bryce Harper and others that are, at a good enough age. I mean, they had a lot of guys in their prime, and they're not all going to fall out of their prime in 6 months. Now, JT may have already and probably has, but they still got a lot of guys with a lot of skill. But they really blew an opportunity. They had a great regular season. They had a great record. They had a lot of home field advantage, not all of it, but a lot of it. They weren't facing a tremendous baseball team. The Mets played really good baseball, but let's not act like they're the, 98 Yankees. And the Phillies blew it. And the primary reason why they blew it, and I know a lot of people say, well, the hitters or the bullpen. The primary reason is a lot of players that you count on, and you have to count on, just played bad. They just played bad. From Trey to Nola to Hoffman to JT to Strom to Bohm to Kirkgreen to Stott to Estevez to all the center fielders to all the left fielders, they just all played bad. I mean, if you do the list of who didn't play bad, it would be really small. I mean, it would basically be Bryce, it would be Zach Wheeler, it would be Castellanos, it would be Sanchez.
I'm not
and Ranger.
putting Bryce on that list. No way, dude. He's the star of this freaking team. He did nothing yesterday. He had that at bat in the sixth inning 2 nights ago. Bryce is not the biggest to blame. He's lower on the list, but that list ends with it's Suarez, Sanchez, Wheeler, and Casty. And Casty, on the bottom.
I don't agree with
I'm
you.
out on everyone else on this team in this series.
Okay, I don't agree with that. But, John, give me your thoughts on where you stand.
Harper needs to do a better job leading this team in those big spots. I was blown away that he didn't get it done in those moments. That we've seen him get it done in the past. If our team was going to keep playing, they should have made good on that promise, that idea that, hey, anything goes. Anyone is all hands on deck, right? Zach Wheeler. Remember, is the fifth inning where it was Jeff Hoffman? He was in a tough spot. I think he had guys on first and second, and
You're saying when he entered the game.
I was in the fifth.
Yeah.
And the polar bear was up, and Jeff Hoffman, he gets out of it. But then, sits for 15, 20 minutes, something like that. Then the sixth inning, it's like, who's gonna get in there?
Rob Thompson screwed that up.
I thought
he did.
This was the perfect opportunity for Zach Wheeler. Zach Wheeler can get this done. Zach Wheeler can give a spark. Zach Wheeler can shut their offense down here. Yet we went back with Jeff Hoffman, the guy who'd just been sitting for 15 or 20 minutes after having warmed up and down and up and down and up and down already repeatedly.
After two emotional big outs the inning before and getting all up and then having to go sit on the bench for I can't get over it. I think it's worse than pulling Wheeler in the World Series. I think it's that bad.
And then Rob Thompson left him in too long. That was a whole nother thing. So he starts the inning with him, then he leaves him in too long.
And then Jeff, when he's in there, loads the bases, and it's 0 outs. And then, so it got really messy. Yeah. And that became the third time that the bases were loaded by the Mets, by Phillies pitchers already that day. That's not good odds for winning when you end up doing that.
They screwed up. I mean, they played a
must-win game. They absolutely played bad. But Lindor up. That was the inning where it was the grand slam. That inning right there. is when Hoffman was pulled, Estevez immediately in, and it was like Estevez's fourth pitch that went yard. And that was the game. Harper needs to do better leading this team. Schwarber and Harper, I think, need to do a better job leading the team. My list of unblamables, Jimmy had his list of guys that he does not point a finger at. I think Wheeler definitely has to be on that list. Ranger Suarez, I was upset with Ranger. He loaded the bases twice in, I think it was the first 2 innings. It looked crazy. I couldn't believe he was so calm, but then he would get out. He would escape, and there's no runs on the board, and then it happened again. And in the end, he was good. He was good. He should be on the list of not blamable. He was that good.
It's such a long list of blamable. James, I know how you feel, but I'm going to ask you, how do you feel?
I feel horrible. Like, I'm angry, I'm sad, I'm disappointed. Like, I can't come up with enough adjectives to talk about what a disastrous, disgraceful performance this was from the Phillies. I mean, for it to happen last year in Game 6 and Game 7, and then just to continue straight into this series, that they can't stop chasing pitches. Like, this is simple stuff.
Yeah. Jimmy,
we're not asking them to go out and hit the ball all over the field. We're just saying don't swing at balls.
And that's my question. Like, we're all sitting there at home or wherever we are yelling at our Phillies, just take pitches.
100%.
Just
100%.
take pitches.
I was clapping like a maniac in my house every walk. Like, the couple walks we got, I'm like literally standing up, clapping at the top.
It's so simple. It's so obvious. Why is it so simple and obvious to everyone except our players? Where is the disconnect? Why is that so wrong?
Well,
is that Kevin Long? Is that our manager? It can't get through to the guys.
I primarily put down the players. Look, Trey Turner was the most disastrous on that topic within this series.
Big time.
I mean, he was a fiasco last night.
That contract is a freaking albatross right now.
And there were so many times. So Amy and I were watching it last night. And there were so many times I said to her. There were so many times I said to her, on this next pitch, Trey Turner has to not swing. And he has to know before the pitch that he's not going to swing. And here's the beautiful thing about that. There's no pressure on you in that moment. If you make the decision before the pitch to not swing, there's zero pressure.
You don't have to do anything.
You actually don't have to do anything. You just know it's 2-0, I'm not going to swing.
That must be kind of nice.
It's 2-1, I'm not going to swing.
It must actually be a chance to exhale when you're up there.
Right.
Honestly, a chance to
just
regroup.
Don't swing.
For any smart batter, that would be a chance to say, okay, good, I'm ready to go after this. Just breathe.
Those of us old enough to see Lenny Dykstra know he didn't have fear of having two strikes. He didn't have fear of being down 0-2. He didn't have fear of being up 2-1. He was confident and he was smart. And this team was not confident and they were really dumb. Rhea, your thoughts? I don't know if you go in person, big picture, emotional edge. Where are you?
I need Rob Thompson gone. My brain hasn't recovered from that sixth inning. I mean, when you're, and I know I'm not the only one, when you're standing up in front of your TV screaming, please get him out after like the first two pitches, you knew immediately he had zero command.
He didn't have it.
Even before it came out, we're like, why are you bringing it back out? Yeah, and then it was like, take him out. It was it left three batters.
But it wasn't that like I said, that I lost my mind. But when that fair ball was called foul on Alec Boehm,
great call
and you got your ass sitting on the bench and you don't come out and go nuts, they were done.
Yeah, that was
embarrassing.
That was
they
a
didn't leave
sequence.
The dugout.
Yeah.
Like, it was so clearly a fair ball. Like, at least argue, at least show some life for your team there.
Yeah, look, all right. All of it here today.
Real
with
quick,
you.
to Rhea's point, I didn't go into I went into last night thinking that it was very unlikely that I would feel Rob Thompson should be fired after that game. Rob Thompson should be fired after that game.
Okay, let's see where everyone stands. 215-592-9494. The Rob Thompson thing, the Strom thing, the Trey Turner thing, the Nola thing. I mean, when you look at the ERA of the relievers, while they're disastrous, it doesn't even fully sum up how bad they were because they also gave up like every inherited run scored.
They gave up more runs than innings pitched, and that doesn't count the inherited runners.
And then you get to the trade deadline, and you consider it was Austin Hayes and it was Estevez. I mean, just a fiasco. Just a fiasco. Your thoughts, your comments, your calls the whole time. How do you feel? What are you thinking? Joe DeCamara, Jon Ritchie, on a day when our hearts are heavy and really are going to be for a long time. And if this group never wins the World Series, our hearts will be heavy forever because this was and is in the midst of an era of now 3 major blown opportunities. Joe DeCamara,
what
Jon
happened
Ritchie.
to JT this whole series, by the way? There are so many questions. There were black holes. There were stars that turned into black holes in this series over the course of 4 games. The vortexes where nothing happened.
We'll get to it all.
Yes.
Joe DeCamara and Jon Ritchie on WIP.